Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It's Uche and Njoku, Sneaker Principal. I'm here with my partner in crime, intellectual crime, that is. Archie Tyson.
You don't know. I don't commit any crimes.
Intellectual crimes. So we'll be still in your mind. You're imprisoning your consciousness for an hour.
I'm not sure if I want to do that because that might offend someone as well. Everyone's.
There's always something. People always offended by something. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a while. The new year, very busy. So I do apologize for us not being here for the past couple. No, we were here. No, we missed one, but we missed the one before that. But it doesn't matter. We're here right now, and as you know, life is life, and things are gonna happen. But we're definitely committed to being here, and we're here right now. Next week we'll return back on Wednesday. We're gonna move the hours earlier to 9 p.m. to be a little bit more convenient to our lives and your lives, because I know for some of y'all it's a little bit more of a challenge to be up at 10 o'clock for the show. Go ahead. What'd you say?
I'm old.
I'm older.
I got bedtimes and stuff. I put kids down, and I'm like, oh no, I'm old.
Nah, let me tell you something.
Before I go to sleep,
I'm realizing. I was sharing this with my brother, and I was like, listen, in my mid-40s right now, I feel good. Like I feel healthy. I feel strong. I feel capable, but I need my naps though. I need my naps. Yo, it's crazy because if I don't get enough sleep, that's the one thing that has changed. If I don't get enough sleep, I'm struggling. And sometimes I try to tell myself I can still, rock out till 2-3 o'clock in the morning doing work, which is not true. Not true at all.
Absolutely.
So
utterly ridiculous to think that's normal. I just need my naps because it's just stressful being a big bald head black dude with a beard, and those just allow me to do just quick small recharges. I just need my naps. I need my rest.
And I'll tell you this: working from home, the best time to have those naps is when my son goes down for a nap. I'm right next to him. We're going to take a snap together. Take a snap together. But nonetheless, real quick before we start, anybody who's watching this who's like, yo, what happened to his lip? Right now I have this thing right here, jiu-jitsu. I caught myself, not paying attention. And actually it happened twice. 2 days ago, my inner lip, gashed it open. This evening, just about two hours ago, I was rolling and just wasn't minding my space and bit my lip. So this is not. I wasn't assaulted. I assaulted myself. But the beauty of fighting and the beauty of jiu-jitsu, I recommend to anybody.
It's not a problem. I got married with a busted lip. Whole different reason.
I wish I would have been there, man.
They couldn't really tell me what happened, why my lip was busted. So you can see my wife at the time there when I come. We didn't see each other the whole day, and I come. She comes up to the awesome center. She's looking like, "What the hell happened to your lip?" I don't know. No one knows. But we had a great time though. We know we had a great time. More to that story is if you're going to drink tequila off the side of the road somewhere in Mexico, just make sure that someone in your party, restrains themselves and hold back so that someone can explain possibly what occurred. But guess what? Been married for going on 8 years, and hey, sometimes you get married with a busted lip.
Listen, we all need the designated storyteller. I'm saying?
Yeah.
Somebody gotta be sober enough to tell the story. Like what happened? And you can't have everybody be like, yo, I don't know. Because then bad things happen.
It's bits and pieces of that story. A pair of cufflinks I never saw again. And but I had the type of wedding where everybody literally ended up in the pool. Like full fully dressed, like wedding dresses, bridesmaids, everybody that was in the pool by the end of the night at the reception. So moral of those stories: do things your way. Don't let people
Amen to
define
that.
how you have to. Whether it's even getting married, which is why I always rock my suits and my Jordans because I'm just not doing it anyone else's way anymore. Doing it my way. You know.
Amen to that. Amen to that. All right, let's get into tonight's
Let's get
conversation. We're about to go hard for the next 42 minutes.
this brother about to get me in trouble.
Actually, no, not 42. 52 minutes, actually. We started at 9:10. So, there's a lot of things happening, a lot of things to talk about, but, and it's funny because the topic that I think we've agreed that we're going to touch on, I'm not sure it's going to be for the whole entire hour, but it's something that is interesting because, it has to do with your hometown. Like, you know what I'm saying? Where you came up, you know, and in my observing this particular story on the news, I had a lot of questions, having to do with identity and 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 what it means to be a black man with authority in spaces where typically you wouldn't have that level of authority. And what I'm saying is it's probably going to make a little bit more sense when we get into it. But um, I know, Archie, you've been paying close attention to this. So I'm gonna let you kind of like set the scene for what transpired in Memphis and why this is so important.
I mean, if folks don't know about the story with young brother Nichols being beat to death by a group of officers, Memphis Police Department officers in Memphis several weeks ago. Um, Folks have probably been hiding under a rock at this point in time. Those officers have been charged with various charges, including second degree murder. And the video of the assault and the beating has not been released. And officials are planning to release that tomorrow night. And, there's been a lot of media hype about what's happening, what's going on. Some people have seized the opportunity to say, this would have been very different had it been white officers. All five of these officers were black, and I kind of went down the path of thinking, hey, like sometimes growing up in Memphis, some of the black, and this does not extend to all black officers in the least bit, because there are tons of black officers in Memphis that are just doing an outstanding job on the job every day. But, you have a subset of black officers that will literally worse than some of the just straight up racist white officers because someone gave them a gun and badge. They had power. They were the softest dude in high school, right? Now I know this idea of soft and masculinity is being questioned and always challenged now because this in our in this age that we're living in, there seems to be uh, uh, people are afraid of the idea of being masculine. No, like it's okay to be feminine. It's okay to be gay. It's okay to be transgender. That's however you want to do it. But like, yeah, nothing wrong with being masculine. Nothing wrong with being an alpha type male, right? And you pick oftentimes the weakest, softest guy in school, the one who wasn't about that life, if we say. Uh, uh, Now all of a sudden they're an officer. They went to the police academy instead of going to college or trade school or doing whatever, because that allows them to all of a sudden have this power over these individuals that may have bothered them, may have picked on them, or they may have envied them for being cool, for being popular, for having some sense of power, even within black spaces. So it's interesting that now all of a sudden we got a badge and we're super bad, and we think that it's okay as a black man to literally beat another black man to death for something minuscule, something as small as running from you, maybe mouthing off. Now, let me be clear. I'm not talking about a scenario where you did something to another grown man's daughter or wife or mother. You know, despite us wanting to be better than that, for many males in society, that can warrant you a death sentence or just to be honest. We can say that, we can talk all this we want to, but I don't know my reaction to someone doing some harm to my daughter. But we're talking about just running from you. He didn't shoot at these officers. He didn't threaten their lives. He didn't try to hit them with a car. And I haven't saw the video. Most of the public hadn't saw the video, but the police director, the chief of the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, the mayor. I mean, everyone had different words to describe and try and prepare us for what apparently is going to be far more horrific than the video of brother George Floyd's life being snuffed out. And I didn't think that I would this soon see something more grotesque than a grown man calling out to his mother as he's slowly being killed. And when you think about it, just that's the last thing you're gonna do. A grown man to call out to his mother. Because you're in true hurt when you call out to your mother. You go to your father for protection, but you go to your mother when you're hurt. Boys do at least, right? So I didn't think I would see anything grotesque, and yet in my hometown, apparently they're prepping us to see a video that they know will be inflammatory. And I know my hometown is a powder keg. It's an open gun market. And I've been encouraging folks to be peaceful, but I've also been encouraging folks I love and care about to stay home, because I know some people are going to use this as an excuse to be an absolute idiot. And it's hard for me to not believe that people would be enraged. And it's a difficult situation, but this whole notion of uh, these black officers use their position to just dehumanize someone else, and they know for a fact if they had a gun, if they didn't have that gun and badge, it wouldn't be about their life. I don't know. That's my opening commentary on that.
So, man, I think it's very hard to be a black man in America, especially if you grew up here. If you spent your teenage years not locked in your house, but you actually were outside,
Mm-hmm.
because the whole notion of running away in L.A. You heard one time, literally once you heard one time, get out, you leave,
Yeah.
because but the L.A. sheriffs, LAPD, they were not playing, and
Yeah.
it wasn't a game. It wasn't a game. It wasn't a cops and robbers. It was, if you want to get your head cracked open, stay here. So you were taught early on to move for self preservation, and it's so just the fact of, and I've actually heard these words like not in a movie, in real life, where I happen to be arrive at a scene or walk by a scene where somebody was just caught by the police, and the police is saying, "You made me run. You made me
Yeah.
chase you." You know, and it's so it just triggers in my mind like images of like runaway slaves trying to get away from from the mob with the dogs, and like it's just perpetuating to this time frame. But the craziest thing about it, and again, I might be a little bit all over the place, but there's all these pieces coming to my head because I watched the film. I think I shared this with you, Emancipation, Will Smith, and a member of what do you call them, the recovery crew or the slave catchers, was a black man on that squad. You
Patty
know,
rollers. Yeah.
so it's interesting right now because I'm just asking myself, at what point in time did these what is it five? Is this five brothers? Five of them?
Yeah.
At what point in time did they completely stopped seeing the humanity of another human? First of all, just another human being. First off, but then not only that, like at what point in time do you not see yourself? Because they can't tell me that they didn't grow up with that fear of the police and everything that came with being a young man in the city or in the country or wherever you were. So I think I just have way more questions than anything else because at the end of the day, it's funny because I have to come to the I have to make this statement very clear. It's one thing for me to get pulled over by the police. When I see it's a white officer, I get a certain feeling. When I see it's a black officer, based on my experience in LA, I have a little bit more of a dreadful feeling because I've dealt with those officers. The first time I ever had a gun pulled on me, and literally to my cranium as I'm sitting in the car, and I'll tell you this is crazy to me because we always make the joke about the pink shirt, and the woman grabbing her purse at
Oh yeah.
Columbia. That day I was wearing literally a pink shirt, a red tie coming from work, with my church shoes. I wasn't civilized enough back then to rock my Jordans. I was in my church shoes in my car, and this officer pulled his gun on me, had it set on my head. After he told me license and registration, and I told him it's in my glove compartment. Go ahead and get it. I reached for it. Stop reaching! Stop reaching! And I just remember looking at this. I just remember looking at his face. He's darker skinned than me. This is not a maybe he might be black. No, blacker than me.
Black, black.
Black. You know what I'm saying? And I'm black. But he was black.
Blue black.
Blue black. And in that moment in time, listen, the way I deal with officers that are not white is always with the apprehension and the just certain level of nervousness. He might be on one. Because with the white officer, I could say I could play the sirs. I know I could do the sirs, and I have my
Yeah.
I'm organized around that.
You know how to go subservient to sustain yourself and do that, but with this rogue sector, and again, it ain't all black officers. I
Yeah, you're
love
right. It's not.
I
It's
love
not.
me some black police, so let me be clear about
Yeah.
that. But it's a rogue element that, when they say we have to be twice as good to get half as much, they go in twice as hard
Twice as hard.
just to be recognized as half as good an officer. So I mean, they literally have to prove to um I'll just say racist cops that like, no, I'm blue.
I bleed blue
I'm
too.
blue. I'm not black. As if you're not black in many other things, right? It don't matter what I do. Okay, I'm Ivy League. I'm black. I'm a teacher. That's a black teacher. I'm a principal. I'm a black principal, right? It's the context matters, but they want to erase that context. And I'm all blue, and I'm with you, and I'm willing to do anything anything, especially to other folks that look like me, to make sure you know that you can count on me, as if as if oh they it's almost as if they believe that a race war is gonna happen, and if it does happen, you know that I'm gonna be good, right? Because I put in work for the other side. Like the fact that you're even in a I'm choosing side, like it's utter ridiculousness, but it's almost that type of psychology, and it's just dangerous. It was dangerous when I was coming up, and again, it's true. I know folks who've gotten their ass beat by the police, right, for running from them. But like, I again, I haven't saw this video, so I've been assaulted by the police, quite frankly, but I haven't saw this video. I don't know what they did that is so disturbing that literally public officials have to name it as completely dehumanizing and like you know it's almost like you ever said somebody take too far, too far. But how far is far now? So when you again when you the softest cat in school and you're allowed to now I can whoop this cat.
So it's
I'm the overseer. I'm hopping Bob. You know what I'm saying? Tell him about the gun line, boss. Tell him about the gun
yeah.
line, boss. Right? I want to shoot somebody.
I
Man,
don't
can you
I don't want
imagine?
I don't want to harp but it's funny because there's so many layers of curiosity here because I will never forget the evening that I was a sophomore. Yeah, I was a sophomore, and I was in my room doing my homework. Yes, I did my homework. I wasn't playing. I was trying. I was not trying to be put on the bench. I did my homework, and my mother calling for me like somebody died, and I when your mom is like, "Yo," that's a certain pitch in her voice, and you're like, what's going on?" And I ran out, and she's like, "Come, look at this, look at this." She put on the TV, and I remember watching my brain had a hard time putting together, and it was the Rodney King beating.
Mm-hmm.
And till this day, that video I still can't watch it because as an athlete, and anyone who's ever put their physical force into something, those
Yeah,
officers were putting their physical all out swings into try. And my thing was they weren't trying to subdue him; they were trying to kill him. So now I'm asking. So it's funny because now I'm like they saying all this stuff like about this video, and I'm just like, what the? Because there's already precedence of things like that, chokings and George Floyd and all these things that we've seen. What is this? And if it is as they say it is, what leads you again? That I'm going back to the question: what takes you as a black man to say it's okay? It's okay for me to take my full rage on another black man, and not even a one-on-one. We're talking about 5-on-1. But then it causes the question: what do we see in our streets? From Brooklyn to LA to Detroit to Baltimore, the way our kids are killing each other. And so now it's not a pandemic of our children. It's a pandemic of us. Because again, you had 5 men in uniform who were trained.
yeah,
And part of that training, if it's anything like I got when I was in the Marine Corps, was self-restraint. Knowing when to go far and how far to go before you know you're crossing the line.
but it's not crossing the line if it's not a human.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, when you went so far as to believe that other folks are not human, I mean, bad things can happen. But I'm with you. I don't know what it takes for you to get to that point. Um, I just know it's not any dudes I know. Or maybe I do know them, but they weren't my friends coming up, right? Um, so I mean, we'll see. I'm hoping that cooler heads prevail, and because these guys were charged, and the whole they're fired, which they should have been. They're charged, which they should have been. But it is just mighty suspect that black officers get you know tarred, feathered, quartered, and maimed, and all that stuff like that fast, and it almost takes an act of God to get white officers that are engaged in the same type of behavior like charged. I mean, granted, it's in Memphis. There's a black police director. The mayor of Memphis is white, but Strickland, Strickland got in the office when the black vote got split, and they were trying to make him a one-term mayor just because he was white, and it's like, no, give him a chance to try and you know do what he does, and I think he's in it for Memphis, and I think he was just mortified by what he saw, and Memphis is a violent place, right? Black, white, Hispanic, it don't matter. Memphis is a violent place. Access to guns, uh, poverty in various communities, not just the black community. Memphis is a violent place, right? We've been in the news for some pretty egregious things, right? The kidnapping of the white school teacher by this guy that had been in and out of prison, and this guy that went crazy during that same time period and shot up, going on the shooting spree, half the city full of. But it's like this struck a different chord because public officials literally just were kind of speechless and struggled to describe what they were watching. And it's the fact that it was so present. Like they didn't even try and cover up their cameras. They didn't try and even cut it off. It wasn't a conspiracy. Let me see how I can try and hide this. Yeah, we beat him to death. Okay, y'all got the video. Y'all saw what happened. It's 1,000 more of him running around. I mean, it's just just disregard for one's humanity, um and we're not talking. And let me be clear. I grew up in the city. I know some real live werewolves. Yeah, for folks who might not know what I'm talking about, I know some real live headhunters, cats that'll take out a whole zip hole. I know some people that still, moving, street narcotics, moving with like. I know some real live heavy hitters. This wouldn't have happened to them because those guys are too soft to come at somebody that they know it might be some consequences behind for them and their families, right? So, ergo problem. We also know that it's some folks that got multiple bodies under their belt. Some real scoundrels in Memphis, some real suckers, some real lames. Y'all gonna get me talking regular Memphis talk. Uh yeah, just real live lemon lane running around here bothering like everybody, terrorizing the hood that, not saying anyone's child deserves to go, but it's some people that might not necessarily be missed as hard. But it's always interesting that it's kind of just a good dude, a regular dude that they have to go to this extreme level of grotesque harm with, where you beat someone to death, right?
Civilians,
Right. I'm like, why you ain't do this to somebody who are overseers for the gangster disciples? This never happens to none of them Hell's Angels guys. Right? Do you ever notice that? And I'm talking about this never happens to man. I'm talking about I can't I almost call some names, but just say somebody, with a mouthful of gold, man, in the tats and ain't playing with them. This don't happen to old Billy Ray, man, the redneck, who people off the chain. Because there's gonna be some consequences and repercussions behind that. Because those type of people don't care nothing about the police. They respect you as police, so long as you respect them. They know it's a game to this. You might have to arrest me one of these days, right? But you don't disfigure somebody that's La Familia, because if you disfigure someone, it was certain rules of this growing up. We knew in the hood, like, yo, you can jump on the police. Just make sure you take their radio. So that's how we used to separate everybody from the hood or not. Take their radio. And I'm not saying that I assaulted the office or anything. I'm just saying, if you were going to leave them with the gun, everybody around Memphis got guns. Ain't no shortage of guns there. Take the radio, because you don't want to call back up and East Precinct show up and have a SWAT there. Then you got problems, right? But I'm saying, like, it ain't never no dude that's really about that life, right? It's always a civilian cat, somebody who just real regular, going to work. Philando Castile working the cafeteria up there in was it Minnesota, Wisconsin, wherever he was. Like, somebody working the cafeteria, somebody selling CDs or selling cigarettes, right? Out of all these cats I know that's grimy, for my New York folks, just grimy cats. You notice it conveniently never is them.
I have a thesis that I want to put out there. What happens when, and again, bullying is a real thing, and people react to it differently. Some people, they hold on to it, and they got to find a way to exact that revenge. One day I'm gonna be big. I'm gonna come back. And what happens when someone decides, what, the way I'm gonna do that is I'm gonna become the law. So I'm going to have access to a brotherhood or a space where I can exercise my power or perceived power, behind the blue shield or blue wall or whatever you want to call it. But then you get on the job and guess what? You're still being punked. Because old dude with the gold teeth, who's a real gorilla, is looking at you, and you still got to call him sir. You gotta watch what you're saying. And the other officers are telling you, yo, chill. We don't bother them. And then they see you and be like, wait a minute, ain't you so-and-so from high school? And the ones who was punking you back then, and if they so happen to be in that life still, they're still punking you. So now what do? Maybe, you find an easy target.
Yeah.
Because you have chosen to become a bully. So to be a bully, you gotta have to bully somebody. But the person that you want to bully, you can't. So you got to go find somebody else to bully. It's usually going to be the civilian. It's going to be the dude, the dude who has a 9 to 5, the dude who's more scared than you are, and you're going to throw caution to the wind and do what you feel like you need to do. Which is scary because, again, I start thinking about, like, we talked about that. I start thinking about my son. I start thinking about my brother. I start thinking about all my brothers, the black men I'm connected to, and understand how easy it is. How easy it is. Because, again, you don't pull me. If you want to come after me, I'm not about that life. But at the same time, I'm not going to let you just do whatever you want to do, which then puts me in a predicament where, I can easily be victimized. And you're very right about this. When we see these stories, typically speaking, these are civilians, people who are just trying to survive day to day.
Yeah, and I know what some people are gonna say. It's more um, white males that are killed by the police than black males, and yada yada yada. Yeah, I get that, but even that, it really ain't them those white dudes. It ain't them. It ain't them. It ain't them gorillas, as we say. Like, let's
Yeah,
be
you're
clear.
not going after what call it, the Mongols. You know what I'm saying? Hell's Angels. You're
Right,
not going after them dudes. You
right.
know?
It ain't. It's never those dudes. It's some of them dudes are scoundrels, but it's going to be a problem
Yeah,
because they're not going easy.
yeah.
So
You're
let me
not going
go.
after Bobby Ray and them. You know what I'm saying?
No, they not. I'm serious. Like I know some of those white guys,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
from different places. I once told one of my former students, and this was when I was working at a youth center in Iowa. And he wanted to go to Chicago. He's a white kid. And he wanted to go run with the biker crowd. I said, "Nah, you're not built like that. Right? That's not that's not what you want, man." I'm like, them guys are, hey, they don't play, right? And the thing is, it's known. The black officers know that, white officers know that, because they know if you're gonna do that, you got to be prepared to go all the way, because they're gonna go all the way. But you go find the easy target, and to bully and victimize it's the mark. It is the utmost mark of a coward. It is. I mean, it is the utmost of cowardism. Like, and this is just it's sickening. But that's the world we live in. And if any black officer is hearing this, and that's you, we're talking about you, and it stings good. If you are an officer, a black officer, and you know other black officers that engage in that type of behavior, you have to call them out. The flip
Even talk,
side,
even talking about it,
I
even
mean,
talking about it.
when you say the use of power, I've probably misused power for what I thought was good. Let me describe it. I said when I become a principal, because of some of the experiences that I experienced in elementary, it wasn't until I really got to middle school, my assistant principal, and then high school principal, Mr. Holland, like where things were different. But some of the things I experienced, I said when I become a principal, we're gonna do things differently in my school. I'm not running kids through metal detectors. I don't care if they're coming from all over Baltimore. I'm gonna build a culture that we respect each other and each other's safety, and we're not gonna run us through metal detectors. So that's a choice that I made, right? Because now I'm in power, I can impose this, right? I think it's good to other folks. They may say, "Hey, that's not a safe thing you're doing," but I mean, these guys are in a position of power, and they're imposing the worst of humanity. Not even humanity; they're imposing evil on folks. And I mean, whatever's coming to them, I mean, whatever's coming to them is coming to them. And sadly, this ain't the first person they've really victimized when they start going through these folks' records. It's probably going to be a lot that starts to come out. Just
Mm-hmm.
because the other people didn't die, didn't say anything, doesn't mean this stuff is not going to come out. So I am. It takes a lot to make me nervous, but I'm a bit nervous. I'm hoping these charges, you know, helps cooler heads prevail. But I'm a bit nervous because my people sometimes ain't wrap too tight down there in the M. Right? Like, like it's just the truth. Some of them in my family, a lot of them in my family. Some folks say wrap too tight. You know, hey, and things can easily get out of control, and I don't want folks to wreck their lives, their neighborhoods, and put themselves or their children in unnecessary harm, because they're outraged and mad. And yet I still understand. I understand why people riot. I do, right? I'm not endorsing it, but I understand. Like you get tired because I get tired. When I say I want to run out to Barbados and not just come back, or that when you talked about the episode, just putting your feet in the red clay and just feel like you get tired, and then something like this happens, and you know, it, it's. I don't think people realize how difficult it is just on a daily basis to contain, just to be, just to walk down the street, go to a store, and thwart all of the microaggressions, thwart all of the macroaggressions, worried about getting shot by the police, worried about, like, just to be is difficult enough. Going to work and not really being able to be your full, authentic, and robust human black self, not being able to be that until you get to your house, and then hoping that your door is not kicked in by a no knock warrant or some other idiot robbing houses. Like, it's hard just to be. So sometimes I want to be a coward and just escape it all and go somewhere and just say, you know what, I'm just gonna be it's difficult. And then this situation happens and they say it's a video. I almost don't want to see the video, but I have to see it to be responsible enough to figure out how to counsel others. And when I mean others, that's educated black folks all the way down to straight shooters. Because when you come from where I come from, you know the best of us and you know the worst of us, right? Sometimes the worst of us is the best of us, and the best of us is the worst of us. That's a
That's
whole
right.
different.
Facts.
That's a whole
Facts.
different episode there.
Facts.
But because I heard what I said out loud, and I said, nope, I got to say that. But
No, it's no. You're right about that, 100%. And I'm sure there's a lot of people listening right now who are probably thinking this. How much of this stuff that happens in our neighborhoods would still be happening if our real ones were still on the streets?
that's an interesting prospect. I mean, and a lot of these young cats, you know what they did? I forgot. I don't think it was Kruger National Park, but it was one of those national parks in South Africa, either Southern Africa
With
or one of the
elephants,
with
yes.
the elephants. They introduced male
No, no,
bull.
no. Let's tell the whole entire story.
Well, the whole, the whole.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So,
Tell me.
so I'll start with the first part. So they had a park. I don't remember the name of the park. It's in South Africa. So in this park, there they had an overpopulation issue happening.
Mhm.
You know, so what they decided to do was, again, thinking this is how we're going to control population. So now think about the the intersections with reality. Okay, so they decided to literally kill off the most of the adults.
Yes.
Then take the baby elephants and then do what? Explain that part. They took the baby elephants to another
Well,
park and
well,
then what happened?
well. I mean, the nexus is like when they killed off the adults, most of the adult males, right, and many of the adult females. Like, now you have adolescents running around
No, no,
raising.
but they moved them. Those baby elephants. They moved them to another park by themselves
Okay, yep, yep. That's
with
what it was.
with no adults there
No,
at all now,
no
just by
adults there
themselves.
to raise them. No adults to raise them. So essentially, they're raising themselves.
No
They're
mentorship, no guidance, no parenting, no nothing.
no guidance, no one teaching you how to be a male elephant, how to be a female. Like, they just raise themselves. So, what do you think happens when they're young adults? They're coming in the musk, and man, that testosterone pumping, they terrorizing towns. and villages, and they're tearing that park
They
up.
were killing rhinos.
They were killing rhinos.
Rhinos.
Like they were for all intents and purposes. Shout out to my folk from the Bronx. They wildin', son.
They
I
were
mean,
wild. Listen,
they wildin'. Like they were just wilding, and they couldn't figure out all the biologists and all the what is going on. Like why the elephants don't even act like this. Not in the wild, yada yada
they were
yada. They have
eating. They would eat. They were not even eating the normal foods anymore. They said some of them were actually tasting meat.
hey
Elephants are
I mean,
vegetarians.
right, and they couldn't figure out what was going on, and then they started it to. I don't know if it clicked on them. I don't know how they came up with the idea, but elephants are highly intelligent, highly social creatures. If you've ever seen a video of an elephant mother who's lost a cub to the lions, first of all, she was pregnant for 24 months.
Mm-hmm.
That's unbelievable, right? But they mourn. Elephants don't forget. If you do something to them, they remember.
They remember you. They will remember
They
you.
remember you, right? And they remember what you did, and they will pay you back. You might not think it. They might play a game for a couple years, but they remember what you did. And but these elephants had no guidance, and they were just wilding. So they finally introduced big old male bull elephants, not so old that they couldn't regain control, but they reintroduced those females, but more importantly, big bull males to get these joggers in shape.
I said there was a
Right.
handful of them. It wasn't even. It wasn't even that many. It wasn't even that many.
I
So
just
they just
taught
literally.
myself an extra
Like,
country word. I said joggers. You ever been talking about Memphis? You ever been talking about your hometown and use some joggers? Somebody's like, "What does joggers mean?" It's really
yeah, it's like when I
slang.
start talking about LA, I start talking about I'm finna, and people are like finna.
Yeah, I'm
Like,
finna man.
damn, how do I say that? I'm going to, going to.
Yeah. Yes. We can use the astute language, and but we just choose to keep it. So man, these joggers, when they needed that male bull elephant guidance. They needed a pack leader, somebody that could teach them what to do, how to move, what they supposed to eat, when they supposed to wild out, and when they supposed to be cool. They needed somebody that would slap them back into shape when they was having a problem. Nah, you can't just be walking around killing rhinos for no reason. There can be consequences for that. Like literally, that was the key to turning this herd of adolescent youth elephants that were just terrorists back into really decent elephants that could live on the land with people, with with they literally couldn't live with other animals because
Mm.
they would just throw them out, right? Uprooting trees for just for no reason, like attacking the people. So those big bull male elephants taught them how to be elephants, taught them what to do, how to move, but they needed that. And they realized that you can't take that away from elephants and expect a positive outcome in the least. Anybody drawing parallels? Can I get an amen here? Ooh, I might get
Listen,
tonight.
hold on.
And
Yeah, like,
you
amen
take
on so many different levels.
you take our grandfathers, fathers, uncles, cousins, brothers, neighbors, and lock them up for long swaths of time for foolishness.
Mostly for petty or not even, or even non-existent crimes.
What do you think is going to happen with the adolescent elephants running around the hood? The adolescent gorillas that ain't got no silverback. You need it's a role that silverback plays. It's not just protector, but it's also teacher, doctore, right? What do you think is gonna happen when you remove that away? Even now, what you're saying is stuff like that didn't happen when OGs were around. All of the leadership of street gangs and other they were locked up. So now you got armies without generals.
Listen,
When has that ever? When has that ever been a good idea? Bad
yeah.
things happen when you allow the soldiers to
It,
go run around without leadership. And I can
remember
tell
the
you,
book,
it is
Lord of the
leadership.
Flies? Lord of the Flies it's a perfect example of what
Yeah,
happens. You could give them all the tools that they need, but if they're not developed enough to be reasoning, functioning adults, they literally create their own rules. And it's funny because I am old enough to remember in LA when a lot of the OGs were still around. When somebody said that was OG, it actually
mm-hmm.
meant something. He had a little gray in his beard. Like this was not. Now you
Right.
call OG somebody who was like 21. They're OG. Like nah. We're talking about OG who was like, yo, I knew Tukey, and the dude still had an afro, And I remembered we moved differently because they could stop you at any given time and correct your behavior. I remember this one OG pulled. Listen, he was driving a 70 something Impala. Pulled up next to me as I was walking home from football practice. Had a horrible practice. I'm all beat up myself, like yo, I messed up. I'm about to lose my position. I'm walking down, looking on the floor. This car pulls up, and he was like, "Yo, little nip," and I looked. He was like, "Don't you ever walk these streets with your head down. Man up, bro." Never did that again. That was like 1992. Never did that again. And it's funny because that's all he said to me. And I knew who he was. Ingle family blood. I knew exactly who he was. He stopped his car and looked at me and said, "Don't you ever walk these streets looking down. Pick your head up." We don't like.
I mean,
Let's be honest here. If
eh,
today somebody does that, he might get shot.
yeah, ain't no respect. Everybody gets a Letterman jacket.
Everybody gets Letterman jacket.
You ain't got to put
Exactly.
in the work. Everybody get a trophy. You don't have to put in the work. And when I'm saying work, I ain't just meaning anything violent, ridiculous, or nefarious. I mean just like you don't have to build relationships with people, right? Like, cause really the hood is built on relationships. Whether when you're at the top of the food chain, like it's a dangerous situation. It's relationships. That's what keep you safe, right? Yeah, the threat of force is one thing, and people say, "Oh, the threat of force and violence." Okay, the police use the threat of force. The United States use the threat of force against people to get their way. That's just a way of life. Silverback in the wild is a threat of force if you come and violate. But that element of keeping things in order, stuff happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in Baltimore City this year, it's been 21 murders to start the year off thus far. We ain't
Crazy.
made that in January. Six of them have been below 18. 2 days ago, a 15-year-old is killed one block away from his school, about 30 minutes after school got out, right? That just didn't happen. Not to say a 15-year-old wouldn't be killed, but like right there at the school, right? There's certain things that you have to admit that the Sharks made sure, you know, wasn't gonna go down, right? And that's always been the case in all societies. But when you take out leadership and you leave whole armies to run around to govern themselves, they start making up rules that don't look nothing like any bylaw or charter, and you get lawlessness. They don't respect nobody. I don't like nobody. We can keep it gangster. We can, however you want to go about it, right? That's the law now. I like the OG that used to be in the good. And it wasn't just because it was a threat against me if I went against certain wishes, but it was the fact that like when it wouldn't know it would I would want to look at the statistics when certain people when certain people were on the street to see if how the crime of rape and aggravated assault and other crimes fluctuated in those neighborhoods based off of leadership of people in street organizations, right? And let me be clear for all the folks that are in fraternities and sororities and fraternal organizations and organizations. Like that ain't nothing but a gang. Everybody got their colors, they got their signs, and they do all that stuff. And half of them criminals too, right? So just because somebody gangster cypher don't automatically make them a criminal. Maybe they have done some messed up stuff, but if you are truthful about who you were before you went to college and got you a little job, you may have done a few messed up things too, right? And some people get mad, but let them be mad. But what I'm saying is, I would be interested to understand how the crime statistics in certain areas of certain cities, whether it's Chicago or Memphis, change and influence as different leaders were in power on the streets, effectively to say. When they were removed, how that power vacuum created an additional wave of crime. And I ain't saying these people were anything nice at all in any shape, form, or fashion. But what I am saying is, like, in the poverty, with everybody packed into impoverished neighborhoods, there has to be some type of order to
There has to be
things,
a power structure. There has to be
right?
a very clear understanding.
Even if that power structure exists outside of the legal system, which has never worked for people of color in this country, quite frankly. So why would there be a why would we not have but I would just be curious to understand, as those power structures and those leaders of organizations were removed, how that actually influenced the level of crime or the level of heinousness of crimes, because certain stuff just didn't happen because there were consequences. There were worse people than the police knocking on your door. I ain't gonna call no names in Memphis, but knocked on your door. You had a problem. You would want detectives knocking at your door before you had at your door, because, like, you got one opportunity to tell them the truth before stuff start getting broke.
Ah,
And you
facts.
might get talked to with a sawed-off shotgun down with broken teeth because you violated the neighborhood. You don't rob old women, not in this here neighborhood. You did what up at the school? That's a violation. These young boys ain't got no violations. There are no violations. I mean, that's a violation. Period. You don't do that in school. I don't know.
Somebody needs to do like a doctoral studies about this topic itself. Because now I'm sitting here thinking about all the moments in the hood, in Inglewood, that stuff happened that back then I just thought this was just the rules of the streets. I remember one time my car got broken into, and it was on Queen Street. I'll never forget. And honestly, I looked at as I parked my car, I was like, baby, if you're still here when I get back, it's all good. And I came back, it was still there, but my window was busted open. It was busted, and they took my briefcase, and it wasn't in there. I had paperwork in it that I needed. You know what I'm saying? So whoever took it, like why? Okay. And I told my homeboy this. He was like, where this happened? I told him where it happened. He was like, I got you. As God will have it, this happened on a Friday night. I was where I shouldn't have been, trying to go see a shorty on Friday night. That I told my homeboy about this. It must have been like Monday Night Football or something. And he was like, where this happened? He's like, I got you. Man, the next morning, it was Tuesday morning, he called me. He was like, bro, I got your bag. I'm like, get the out of here. What you mean you got my bag? I got your bag. And I went over there, and he had my bag.
Man.
And I was like, wait a minute. Did you? I'm thinking. He's like, nah, bro. We got rules here. You were saying we had rules, and I made some calls, and here's your bag. My bad about the window. He was like, yo, old boy told me to tell you my bad about the window. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, and it wasn't. Yes, I was like, damn, I got my bag back, but there was so many instances where old ladies didn't get robbed. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, LA riots, my mom's store that was right in the Crenshaw district, right in the middle of all the burning buildings, was not touched because the OGs I'll say rolling 60s, that was their territory. And guess what? Everybody knew my mother as the African lady who was mad nice to everybody, and would give you a free soda, would give you whatever.
I don't believe that.
What?
I'm gonna discriminate. West African moms scare me.
No,
West African moms scare me.
but think about this. That's why they didn't touch a store. That's why they didn't touch a store.
Again, West African moms scare.
Because my mother. I've seen my mother grab a crib and be like, yo, my son. She starts off by saying, my son, come here. What is wrong with your hair? Why you have your hair like a girl? He'd be like, no, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. It's my mom's. But it was funny because all the businesses during the riots were all busted in, burnt out. Hers was not touched. Not touched.
Because everybody was scared of them. They were scared of them. I'm just being honest. Like,
so she was the OG. She was the OG.
She's the OG because they're nothing. They're not afraid of anything, and they will say anything to you. They don't care who's
some hurtful stuff too.
Right.
Some hurtful
stuff because it does. You're their child. It doesn't matter whose child you are, so therefore they'll say anything to you. I'm talking about it don't matter whether you're a kid or a grown man. I remember when I was a director at the Boys Club in East Harlem, where were they from? Was it Guinea-Bissau? I can't remember. But man, he wasn't leaving, and his mom said, "Get yourself, let's go." But how she said it, I was outside talking to another parent. I reached down and got my bag, and I was where we go. I was terrified. I said, I'm looking at him like, get your stuff now.
Like, oh my goodness.
Trying to deal with that. But
it's facts though. It's a different kind of energy. It's definitely a different kind of energy. But I would say this though.
You survived.
But let's be honest here. That's the same energy that I'm not gonna say it was everybody, but there were certain OGs on the block who understood, hey, I gotta survive, that's why I do what I do, but at the same time I'm gonna protect my neighborhood. You're not gonna do that in my block. So some of that energy. Yeah. Say again?
Kids like me got a pass, bro. Kids like me got a pass. Because you're smart. No, you can't get involved in that.
Yeah.
You're gonna be a college boy. You're gonna be a college boy. You know what I'm saying? Go home. They let you do certain stuff, but like, nah, go home. You can't get in the like you gotta be like we gotta be proud of somebody around here. Like one of these days. Like,
did this ever happen? Did this ever happen to you when they might not know your name, but they knew your jersey number?
Yeah.
They be like 55.
Well, I was always B brother. And even though I was bigger than my brother, right? Because he lost a lot of weight and stuff. And little bro, I was either little bro or that B brother, right? So I recognize that I got to pass on a lot of stuff because of my people, but it was a power structure. You couldn't do some of these things that's happening. Just didn't happen, right? And I'm not saying that the person who was in charge, the OG, was right. I'm not saying that person didn't do any wrong or any harm, especially if you were moving narcotics or something. I'm not saying that was the case, right? Because I think that's terrible in itself. But what I am saying is there was a structure and a set of rules that people knew not to engage in certain behaviors because it was going to be a problem that, then nobody worry about the police policing that because everybody know when somebody got hit, everybody know why they got hit.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? The police didn't actually do their jobs, right? If something went down, they came to OG or they came to somebody else and said, "Yo, we got a problem. Somebody, did X, Y, and Z, and somebody got to go to jail for this. Y'all decide what the deal is. But if we got to flood these streets with blue boys on every corner for 3 weeks, ain't nobody gonna make no money. Everybody gonna be coming for your head. So somebody got to go for that. Why? Why you do something stupid that wasn't authorized? You used to have to get authorization to do. If you're gonna do something real stupid, you had to get authorization. That's what type of structure used to exist. You had to talk to somebody. But now, every monkey for itself. Everybody is somebody now, without actually having to be somebody, right? And that's kind of terrible. And I think that again, translated over to these officers that committed this, ridiculousness. Oh, they want. Oh, I'm somebody. I don't have to go through the work of building relationships. And I know great police in Memphis, black officers that everybody in the neighborhood know them. When it's a problem, they not locking nobody up. Like we're gonna resolve this situation. They know everybody, but it take work to build relationships with folks to where they trust you to you know get situations resolved without folks having to go to jail, right? But you got to make sure that you also not using, you know y'all not busting pistols at each other trying to resolve something, because then I can't help, right? It takes work to build those community and policing relationships up. And these soft toilet tissue cats, they're not interested in that. They're just interested in power and somebody they can lord over, and somebody that they can bully because they got bullied. It got dead to them, therefore they're gonna do. I got hazed as a freshman high school football player and college football player. Therefore, I want to,
I'm gonna hold on
haze.
to that. I'm
Well,
gonna hold on to that.
I'm gonna hold on to that and haze folks. Well, it's hazing and then it's hazing. I ain't saying that. And let's. I'm gonna get in trouble for this. I don't care. Well, if I run for office one day, okay, did you say that? Sure, I did. Now, I'm just gonna be honest. There was a 2-year old shot in Memphis, shot and killed in a car. Some cowards shot in the mother's car, road rage, and killed a 2-year old. If the police catch that person, I'm not against that person having a bit of a rough ride, get knocked upside the head a little bit. I ain't saying you be the executioner. It's not a death sentence for you. You still need to stand trial. And now, if I can't really say what I really think should happen, because you really should get turned over in many ways to that family and let that family decide your fate. But that's don't ever elect me world dictator because we would try and put a structure in like that. But it's not a I, the police gotta have to a certain extent some discretion to be able to say, I ain't taking this black kid to jail over 2 dime bags of weed, which I know are against the law and technically I'm supposed to do in the state of Tennessee. I done seen so many officers take their weed, they might smoke it themselves. But
Uh,
a lot of time they pull it out on the ground and kick it under their boot and tell you to get on somewhere, right? Because ain't nobody taking nobody to jail at the end of their shift for 2 bags of weed, nor should they. I've also seen folks make a big deal out of it,
yeah.
right? Just to show you that I got power over you. I'm gonna turn your life upside down over $20 worth of weed, right? So it's I don't know, this idea of cowards getting power and all of a sudden they get to be somebody when they haven't put in the work to learn their craft, to learn those streets. how it smell, what it do, to get to know the players involved, and then just decide that I can just bully. It's it's cowardice at its finest, and again, it just further entrenches this idea for me. Where are we safe? And we is everybody in America, considering what happened on the West Coast for Lunar New Year.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
um,
crazy too.
that's everybody, but especially for black men, you can't even see a black cop and feel safe. And I worry, should we just take our sons and combine our resources and go to Barbados, to go somewhere and just, I don't know. Um, yeah, I don't know.
Is we're about 13 minutes past our usual hour time frame, but I think this was I have to concur with you. Last time we had our episode, you said this is like therapy, and I thought about that. I was like, this is like therapy because it's, at least for me, it's allowed me to unpack things that I don't really talk about, but that's definitely hover in my brain. Especially when we're in these spaces where, again, this could have been either of us. Any of us. It could have been, and the common factor here is the fact that it's a constant for black men, regardless of your age, regardless of whether you're dark skinned, light skinned, to be in a space where you can be easily victimized like this, and not just by people of other races, but people of your own race as well, under the banner of being a police officer or someone who's supposed to serve and protect. But but as we wrap up this episode, I think it's just. I mean, I definitely want to give the mic to you, Archie, to talk to those people who might be listening. Who might come across this, who are in Memphis, and because I think I don't want to see any more of senseless violence and destroying of our own communities. Because again, at the end of the day, it just perpetuates the narrative that we're not able to do anything other than destroy. You know, so so I'm gonna give the mic to you to take us out of here. What word do you have for those who are listening, those who are in Memphis, or even any community out there who are dealing with these same issues? So the mic is yours, man.
Um, yeah, I'm normally talkative, but what word? Love. I mean, if you try hard to love and find love in spaces, perhaps you know we'll be able to see what we see tomorrow and um, love the folks that are nearest and dear to us even more, and not engage in wrecking of the lives of people and your lives and the lives of others and people's property and all that. Just, only thing I can lean on in this situation is just trying to um, exercise love harder, try and find and squeak it out. And I know that it's difficult, but um, that's my desire, my wish, and my prayer that uh, folks don't become engulfed by rage and um, engage in reckless acts that would alter their lives and the lives of their children and folks that they love. Love the people close enough. Love the people that are you're closest with enough to um, be there for them as long as you can possibly be there for them. So I'll just end that with just love.
I think that's well put, and love. We gotta find more of it. We gotta create more of it, and we just gotta keep spreading it. And with that being said, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us for this episode of the Ivy League Hood Rats. And we'll be back next Wednesday at 9 p.m. So no longer 10 p.m. Because those of us of a certain age, we need to get some more sleep. We old. So again, with that being said, be well, have a good night, and until next time, peace, y'all.